Welcome to the Friends of FEADies Podcast, brought to you by Feed Canada, our funding partner, ISED, and founding partner, the Saskatchewan Food Centre. This show is all about celebrating the incredible journeys of female entrepreneurs in the agri-food and food manufacturing sector. We're here to dish out the secrets of success and serve up a side of inspiration along the way. We are the Feed program where dreams are made, businesses are born, and the agri-food world is your oyster. Let's dine together. Hi, Domenique. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Can you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Domenique. I am currently the COO and partner at Beck's Broth. We do a bone broth-based coffee and bone broth-based hot chocolate, which I'm sure we'll get more into. I have a little bit of a mixed experience in the food industry. I'm a food engineer by trade, so I did all of my schooling around food and sustainability. And that led me into starting my own business, which no longer exists in the same capacity. It's more of like a consulting business now. But yeah, so that's where I met my now business partner, Becky. So I run Beck's Broth with Becky full time. And I'm also a speaker at the Food Venture program and do a lot of teaching and helping other food entrepreneurs kind of get to where I've been able to get.
Amazing. Yeah, and actually that was kind of what I was just going to mention right off the bat here is we've worked together with the Food Venture program because you've actually spoke at some of the classes that we've ran. And so, yeah, I was just like curious about kind of how you got started with them and kind of your experience with that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it kind of goes way back. I can give you a little bit of a backstory. I feel like I'm such a nosy person and I love to know how people met each other. So I'm going to give a little bit of that. So when I was in school, I was, like I said, starting my business in my third year of university. I was at Guelph studying engineering. And there was this program called the Hub Incubator. And that's how I really started my business. So I was taking a school class and I was doing a project where we had to make some sort of sustainable innovation. And I didn't know how to engineer an innovation. Like I wanted to make like a compostable K-cup or something like that because it didn't exist at the time, but I just didn't have that skill set. So I asked my prof if I could work in food and he said, absolutely. So I started taking the waste that was coming out of a juicer at a local juice bar on campus and baking that into waffles. So I started making that. I started with waffles because I was struggling with breakfast at the time. I didn't really know what to eat that was going to have high protein and be on the go. And I also didn't have a good oven. So like I lived in like a frat house. So I got like a $20 waffle maker on Amazon. So anyway, with that business, I entered the Hub Incubator, and Kieran, who is a founder of the Food Venture program, was one of my first mentors there. She was running the incubator program right now, kind of like I host the program for the one that Feed does through Food Venture program. And we just hit it off. She was running her own healthy food business at the time too. So we became friends and then just stayed connected on Instagram. And then she posted that she was looking for someone to kind of fill in here and there. And I just messaged her and I was like, hey, like, pick me. I'd never really had a conventional job in my adult life before. So I was like, you know what, Kieran would be awesome to work for. And she has been awesome. So I started with just hosting the sessions. So just being like the face at the beginning and the end, and then the professional speakers would come in. And then I think slowly over time, we kind of developed confidence in each other. And she said, you know what, you should be speaking. So I got the opportunity to start speaking too.
Amazing. Yes. And you do an amazing job. From my experience, you speak mainly about social media and some of the marketing related things. Is there any other topics that you kind of speak on right now, or is that kind of the main area?
I do speak on social media. I think the way that I got into that one was they just needed someone. And I was like, I'm not the best expert in social media, but I ran my business on social media and I'm really good at researching. So that's how I kind of got into that one. My current role in my career doesn't really involve social media at all, other than like consulting with Becky, my business partner. She does all social media there. I'm more of an operations person right now. So I do sales and distribution talk, and then I just talk about how to make better sell sheets, and kind of take your business from being a farmer's market business to scaling it in different directions, and how to do that most efficiently and with optimizing profits. So the short answer is I do kind of social media and then the operations as well, the scaling.
Yeah, that's great, and so useful for people, because I'm sure that's like such a big kind of daunting step for people, going from that, the farmer's market, and you want to take the next step, but kind of feeling a little bit alone in trying to make that transition. Were you ever kind of at the farmer's market or anything like that, or were you mainly online selling?
Oh, I was at the farmer's market. Yeah. So when I started my business, we had to write a business plan, and I was like, okay, on my business plan, I'm going to go to the farmer's market, validate my products, then start selling in stores. And then the pandemic hit. So my business, the way it operated was I would bake at the commercial kitchen, take orders for the week, and then people would come pick it up from my house or opt for delivery. And that's how I operated my business. They would order it online, and they would either pick it up or I would deliver it. And I would do it both in Guelph and in my hometown. And I was also in school at the time. So it was honestly kind of fun to just like have a little bit of interaction while I was like literally by myself in the lab doing my master's all day, like kind of depressed. It was nice to have that interaction. But then when the farmer's market became an option for me, I started going, and I quickly just realized I had a really hard time waking up early on Saturday mornings. I think it was like a 7 a.m. start. And I was 21 and wanted like to be staying up on the weekends. And then I was just like, honestly, my friends were all like, you're not the same person anymore. You don't want to go out on Fridays because you have to get up on Saturday. And then you go to the farmer's market all day on Saturday, and you're tired on Saturday night and you don't want to come out. So it was kind of tricky for me, but I was able to hire someone to help me. And that also allowed me to go visit family at home on weekends. And that system worked really well for me. I think I have a really strong skill set in delegating tasks. So I was able to do that and hire someone really awesome. But at the end of the day, I think it would be more beneficial for me to be there and selling my product and developing those relationships with my customers, just because I love that part of the business. So I did go back to the Kitchener Farmers Market, which is like a city over. And that's my friend Becky had, at the time, we were just kind of business friends. She was like, please, like there's a booth next to me, come. So I did end up going back and being the person who was doing it, because I wanted to hang out with her. We were just like becoming friends at the time. And I like had a really good run at that farmer's market. And also I learned to shop there. So I think it actually changed my life in the sense that now I love to shop from local farmers, and I only really buy locally raised meats and things like that. And I think being exposed to that every single Saturday in that environment really shifted my perspective. So there was a lot of silver linings with the farmer's market, but I'm really glad I don't have to do them anymore, just because it's exhausting.
Yeah, I can imagine it being tiring.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, this is, I assume, Becky, you're talking about is the same Beck from Beck's Broth.
Yeah.
So I would just love to hear a little bit more about that kind of decision making to go from you're running Happy Era, you're doing your own thing, to kind of decide to move and join another company. Just kind of what went into that decision, and was that a hard decision to make?
I think on paper, it was a hard decision, and it was an emotional decision. Obviously, like my business, Happy Era, was my firstborn child. But something I learned while I was in school was if you don't listen to your gut, like you're wasting something that you're so lucky to have. I think when I was in school, I learned this lesson where I really wanted to do my PhD and skip my master's because I knew that you could do that. And I was too scared to ask. And it came out later that it was kind of something that would have been available to me. Like I had the marks to do it. I just had to ask for it. And I didn't. And that's kind of something that, now I regret, and I can't go back on that decision. So I like a lesson that I've learned is if I have a gut feeling, I am so lucky to be able to have that gut feeling. Like I need to listen to that. So I was running Happy Era, and it was like a profitable business. I had a track to success, and I was actually about to invest in a co-packing run, which I received a grant for. So it was awesome. But I was doing a visualization session at the Small Business Center. There's different programs you can do, and one of them, to receive a grant, you had to do 8 sessions at the Small Business Center. And honestly, at the time, I was like, I don't want to go in person. Like, it was just after COVID. Like, I wasn't used to giving up 3 hours every single Wednesday. But I'm so glad I did, because we had to kind of map out like our 1 year, our 5 year, and our 10-year plan. And it was like the first time I really started taking myself seriously in terms of what am I going to do beyond 1 or 2 years. Obviously, I knew in my mind I always wanted to nourish my community and create clean, high protein products that would help people have better gut health, better digestion, and just have a better life. Like, that's my passion. But I never really thought about, what do I want my team to look like? What do I want my work life to look like? And when I started thinking about it, I was like, I don't want to do this alone. Like, I love working with other people. I'm not a jack of all trades. Like, sure, I could do social media, I could do everything, but that's not how I want to live. And I saw my friend Becky, and we knew we worked really well together. We were constantly, like, I was helping her with grants, she was helping me with markets. Like, we knew we had a complementary skill set, and I was like, I just felt called to go work with her. So I just called her. After meeting my co-packer, I was about to sign with my co-packer in Mississauga, and I just called her on my way home, and I was like, do you have a minute? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, how would you feel about me joining as a co-founder? And she said, she just says, it was the easiest yes she's ever said. So that makes me just feel like, thank goodness I trusted my gut. It was a hard month. It was hard to ask her that, because I didn't want to make her feel any type of way or get in the way of our friendship. And she just said, yeah, you threw me for a loop. Like, it was my business, and I didn't know how to delegate. Like, she didn't know how to delegate the way that she's going to have to learn to, which she's awesome at now. But it was a lot, and we had to invest in a mentor and a lawyer and a bunch of different things to get us to where we are. And I would say even harder than that, because those are awesome supports that we had in place. Harder than that was like breaking the news to my family. Like, I remember taking my boyfriend on a walk. I was like, I need to go on a walk with him, because if he's going to like hate me for this, I would rather be out of the fresh air. And like, he vented to me for like half an hour about how awesome what I was doing was, and that I didn't need to give up. And I was like, that's not the point. Like, look at 5 years down the road. I want to be having fun, and I don't want to be doing this alone. And I think there's a difference between having fun with your employees and having fun with your business partner when you're both just like in it together. So after those like initial few conversations, everyone just started to realize like they were so happy for me, and I was going to be so happy. And I think the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So me and Becky, as 2 individuals working together, are going to create something so much better than we could have each done alone. So yeah, it was a tough transition, and like definitely breaking the news to people was hard. But I think after my boyfriend and my immediate family found out, and that positive momentum built, and it was just pure excitement, everyone just freaked out when they found out. They were like, wow, we're so happy. This is so meant to be.
Well, that's so amazing. I love to hear that. And so you, I assume, were really familiar with the product, like the bone broth and everything before joining on, because I'm sure, I mean, as much as obviously the relationship's so important, it's got to be a product that you feel strongly about and believe in as well.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think a couple of things. So I was working in the high protein space. And we were both in the process of going from like a liquid or frozen product to a powder. So I was transitioning over from only pre-made to having pre-made and mixes. And she was transitioning from a liquid broth to a powder broth. So I felt like we were just both on the same track in terms of like a high protein, clean ingredient product. But beyond that, I think maybe 10 years ago, my passions really were deep rooted in eating a high protein diet, and being the best like athlete I could be, and being the best engineer that I could be. And having enough protein was really, really, really important to me. And then I was lucky enough to travel the world twice and get 2 parasites while I did it. And it's my parasites are my whole personality. Like everyone who knows me knows I've had a couple of parasites. And from that, I don't know if this is like too TMI, but I'm going to share it because I think it's relatable. I already had like a weak stomach, but then I developed IBS from having those 2 parasites. I guess it's like a common thing that having parasites and killing them with so much antibiotics is like really hard on your digestive system. So after, graduating engineering, like I think it all caught up with me, and like I was like, wow, my gut health sucks. Like I eat so healthy and like my gut health sucks, and I couldn't eat anything. So I started searching for things, and bone broth was something that I started drinking every day. And I was like, wow, this is a powerful liquid. It has pure protein. It's like 15 grams of protein, like not even like any like sugar or fat or anything like that. And Beck's broth is something that I can drink in the morning without having to eat. And I was like working with a naturopath, and she was like, you need to eat breakfast. And I was like, I don't want to eat breakfast before I go and train. Like I'd rather eat breakfast after. And she was like, well, that's bad for your hormones and bad for your gut health. And then we came to this compromise of drinking bone broth, which is now Beck's broth. And I just couldn't feel more aligned with the product. And I just want people to be able to experience the benefits the way that I have.
Mm-hmm. And it's such an interesting idea, because as like, someone who's new to learning a bit about the product, like bone broth, I think obviously salty, savory. So it's a very new, or it's like just such a great concept. You guys have like multiple flavors and that sort of thing. Like it's all sweet, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I guess the coffee would be like the more savory. I don't know what flavor coffee is, but it's unsweetened. So you can add your own sweetener. And then we do have our hot chocolate, which is sweet. And we're working on our 3rd SKU, which will also be like lightly sweet. Our goal really is to make bone broth fun and different and just a flex to drink. So we won't have a plain bone broth in the future. That's just not aligned with what the brand is. But funny story, we posted that we were developing a hot dog bone broth for April Fools. And we had a customer ask us how it was going just the other day. And for context, it's like April 26th today. So no, if you think we're doing a hot dog flavor, we're not. It's all sweet or just like latte inspired beverages.
Nice. Yeah, actually I had, it's funny, those April Fool's things, like you're like, this is so kind of to left field that like, no, like people maybe think for a second and then it is what it is. I was working at a nonprofit, and the April Fool's joke that we did was we're changing the name, and it was this huge long acronym that made no sense. And then like we still like there was a few people who asked about it like weeks, months later, and it's like, oh, okay, well I thought that this was like an obvious enough joke. So is it coffee flavored or is it actually caffeinated? Because I know I love to drink coffee first thing in the morning, but I know you're not supposed to. How does that work?
It is caffeinated. So we have it's instant coffee. It's different than, for example, purchasing like Nescafe and like scooping it into a hot water liquid. It's not granules like that. It's an actual powder. So we don't have the process. We work with a partner who instantizes really high quality fair trade. So it's actually a step beyond fair trade. I forget what the word is for it, but it's really high quality, small batch coffee that's instantized. So it tastes like a normal brewed coffee, but it is actual coffee. It has about 100 milligrams of caffeine in it. And the whole point is to be able to kind of drink it on an empty stomach without having to feel any, stomach aches or hormone impacts or blood sugar spikes and drops.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very sold just hearing that, because it's that continual thing of like, I want to have a coffee first thing in the morning. I shouldn't have a coffee first thing in the morning. So yeah,
I swear it tastes different. It tastes different if you haven't eaten. I can't explain it, but like coffee number 1 and then breakfast, coffee number 2 just tastes different. So this is coffee number 2. I drink coffee number 1 black, but it hits different when you're allowed to drink it on an empty stomach.
That's too funny. First, I've been kind of checking out your socials and stuff, and I saw that there is Dragon's Den in your future. Can you tell us a little bit about that, like prepping for it and like kind of what that process is like?
Yeah. So the way that we got on, we don't know that for sure that we're going to air. So for context, right now we're going to film on May 10th, and then if they like the episode, it'll air. So it's been like a lot of fingers crossed, and so far everything's worked out. But the way that we got to this point was we were at a networking event on March 1st, which was my actual official first day working as like the COO of Beck's Broth. And Becky was in a speed dating. She had said to me, she was like, you know what, like, I'm tired. I'm going to go to the speed dating. Can you go to the investment talk and like take actual notes? You're better at that. I was like, sure, I'll go. I like this stuff. And just so happened that at the speed dating, a producer from Dragon's Den was there and was listening to her talk and had approached her right after and said, hey, what you're doing sounds really interesting. My name is blank. Like, please audition and tell them that I sent you. So we freaked out. We went home. We sent them an email right away. And then they said, and then a few weeks later we applied and they said, yes, come audition. So we went to the audition, and that was, I don't know, at some point in April or maybe the end of March. And then we were at a trade show and we were starting to see people post on LinkedIn that they got accepted to go film. So we were like, okay, like, damn it. We didn't get on. And I was at her house, and this was like last week at this point. So mid-April, I was like, honestly, I'm so sorry. I know we gave the producers your favorite mugs and we didn't even get on the show. Like, I'm so sorry that I didn't get the mugs back. And she was like, yeah, like, you'll just have to get me another one. Like, I'm so sad. And then as I was driving home, I got the call from the producer saying, yeah, we would love to invite you to film. So it's kind of a roller coaster. But now we get to work with that producer to develop a strategy for when we go film. And they give you like a big document. You kind of sign your life away in terms of it's TV. They can make you look however they want to make you look. So that was something we just kind of had to get over. And now we're just working with the producer to develop a plan. The plan that we came up with during our first audition, and the second producer loves the idea. So yeah, we're gonna go on with that plan. And now we have to kind of get once we get to the end of the month, we have to complete our business valuation based on our sales. And we don't actually have a full year in business to be able to go off of. So that's kind of interesting. But we will just do our best and go have fun and hope we get aired.
Yeah, that's so amazing. And it's funny because, I have kind of two questions about that. The first being, it's very much putting yourself out there, going on TV. It's very different than, it seems like it would feel different than just showing up on social media, say. Is that something that, like, was it thought at all, or are you just like so excited you don't worry about it? Or is like there any sort of like fear or imposter syndrome or anything you have to kind of move through to make that decision? Or it was just like, this is an amazing opportunity, doesn't matter?
I think like definitely we were both just like, it's an amazing opportunity, doesn't matter. We are aligned on what our strategy is for the actual show. So we know what we want to be able to take a deal. And if it doesn't work out, like, we're not going to take the deal. So I think just having that, like, I had my idea of how I want the show to go. She has her idea, and it's an interesting idea. So, and we both came to each other with that same thing that gave us both so much confidence, just being like, yeah, like, we're so aligned. And I feel like we don't struggle with imposter syndrome too much. Because I know what my skill set is, and I know what my weaknesses are, and her strengths are my weaknesses. And then we have all of these amazing mentors around us. We just feel like if we set our minds to it, it's going to go well. We're all about a positive mindset and just believing in ourselves, and like actually believing in ourselves, not just like faking it, but like we genuinely believe in ourselves. We genuinely believe in all of our mentors and all of our consultants and all of our agencies helping us out. And we believe in our gut feelings, and we believe it's going to work out. But with that said, obviously, like, the whole thing about putting yourself out there is a completely different topic. I think I am not a social media person. Like, I don't share my whole life on social media. So that was something I definitely struggled with. And I just think at this point, we're doing something cool. And if it goes wrong, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, oh, people are going to think we suck. Like, okay, we suck. We made a mistake. Like, at the end of the day, we're on Dragon's Den. It's cool. So I think like our whole business strategy is just share the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you follow us on Instagram, we share the bad days. And it's just, if we can take our losses and have them prevent someone else from making that same mistake, we're still winning at the end of the day. So that's kind of our mindset with this. We don't really care if things go wrong. Obviously, we want them to go right, but there's no shame or embarrassment around making mistakes. And we want to normalize that because it's something that I think for me, I'm a perfectionist. I'm an engineer. I was always very like, do your homework, get the best marks possible, like finish your degree, yada, yada, yada. And I just want to normalize, if you don't put yourself out there, you're not going to get what you want. Like, don't make the mistake that I made. Don't make the mistake of not asking for your PhD when that's what you want. That's kind of how we run our business, is just sharing everything.
That's so great. And like just hearing you talk about that, there's like a confidence that comes through, like a genuine confidence. So it's like, it's like, I just listening to you, it's like, I believe you because you're just so confident about what you have to say. So that's so great. I know you said kind of social media isn't your main job anymore, or your main role, but I did want to ask a little bit, just kind of since you touched on it, a little bit about like the community building piece of social media, as I know that's something you've talked about with some of our students, and just kind of mentioning that, like a little bit of the good, the bad, because I think you have this curated feed on social media, right? Everything, you want it to look really well done, curated, beautiful. But then also people talk about kind of being authentic and open. So like, can you speak a little bit to the balance of that?
Yeah, I think I talked about this a little bit in our class even this week. So it's a good question. The feed is beautiful. It's very curated. Becky's awesome at her job. And then we have an awesome couple of photographers and a brand strategist who does a lot of our graphics. So we have our bases covered there, and a lot of creativity and time and love goes into it. But at the same time, we want to show up authentically. And I think the way that we're able to get around that is by posting on stories. So stories, there's no judgment, post whatever you want. And our kind of goal there, and this is just like more like a general tip or trick, is just do it in the moment or it's not going to happen. So that means if there's a typo, it's fine because it's on the stories, stories, or we can just hide a post if it doesn't match. Like if someone wants to do a giveaway with us, we can hide it later if it doesn't match the feed. But yeah, we kind of just have this mutual understanding. Just get it done in the moment. It doesn't have to be perfect. People actually don't care. And I actually think people really value the imperfection. When I was doing like the email marketing for Happy Era, I would send it out at any time. You could tell it was me. You could tell because there was typos, there was intentional word stretching. And I think people just really, really, really connect with that because they're like, okay, it's actually her. It's not some student or whatever it is, like doing the work for her. And because of that, we have made so many friends. Like Becky has like a million best friends. So I'm always in competition to be her best friend. But like everyone she meets through the business, she knows their birthday. She gives them a hug when she sees them. And on social media, that happens too. So she's out there like sending every new follower a message and genuinely having a conversation with them. And you'll see her inbox. There's like 50 messages that come through in a day because that community piece is so important to us. And I think obviously there's like the business strategy, which is nurture your customers and they'll come back. But there's also the fact that we're two entrepreneurs. We don't have an office. We don't have a big team. We need to make friends somewhere. Why not make friends with the people who share the same interests with us? So we love making friends on social media, making friends at wellness events. It's just like so rewarding and such a treat to be able to work in this space and meet like-minded people who you instantly click with.
Yeah, that's amazing. So have you had any like social media friends, I guess, that became your like in real life friends? Is that how you and Becky first met, or was it the farmer's market?
No, that's how we first met, was through social media. I don't remember if I sent her a DM after trying Beck's broth for the first time, or if she sent me a DM after ordering waffles, but we just kind of DM'd back and forth. I think we did a business giveaway together, like really low key. And then she just asked me to go out for lunch. And I was like, honestly, pretty sick. I had a fever. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go, might as well. And that's kind of just how we became friends. Once we went for lunch one time, we were like, okay, we're friends now. And then we started texting, and yeah, that's how we became friends. I'm trying to think of like other friends that we've made. I know definitely there's local business owners a lot in Kitchener that she's good friends with now and hangs out with in person. Even like my boyfriend, I know him from my hometown, but we started talking in the DMs too on my birthday. So it's a real thing.
That birthday message that actually is maybe shooting his shot a little bit.
So funny. Like, he sent it a day late, and I was like, did you do this on purpose because you knew I wasn't going to be on my phone? Obviously not, but yeah, shoot your shot. Send the birthday DM. You never know.
Yeah, no, great advice. Good way to stand out. Yeah, being an entrepreneur, you're very busy. You've got a lot on the go. You've kind of spoken a little bit about kind of just leaning into high protein and trying to support the gut health and stuff. But can you tell us a little bit more about kind of how your health routine and how you kind of try and balance everything?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a wellness girly at heart. The term is granola, and I think I embody that. I love being a granola girl, so it comes really easily to me to put myself first. My parents might say I take care of myself a little too much. But I think really where it comes from is I know if I feel good, I can just get so much more done in so much less time. So I don't feel bad if I need to take an extra hour in the morning or go to bed an hour early or whatever it needs to get done to make sure I'm taking good care of myself. Because I think if I don't, I just don't work as hard and it takes me a lot longer to get things done well. But a little bit about, I guess, my wellness routine, if we'll call it that. I every day like to start my day outside. So I like to either like go for a walk or a jog or just something to get the sunlight in. I really struggle with falling asleep at night. And I think getting the sunlight in your eyes a couple times a day, especially in the morning, instead of looking at a screen right away, is really important. So I try to get outside, even if it's just for 5 minutes. And then I usually do my workout first thing in the morning. And I have like a small breakfast before that, and then I'll just eat after. But I like to do a workout in the morning and then maybe a walk in the afternoon and some type of mindfulness in the evening. So the walk doesn't have to be long. The workout doesn't have to be long. And if I don't feel like doing it, I don't have to do it. And it doesn't, like, I'm not super intense with anything. I'm not competitive in that area. So just some type of movement. And then honestly, the obvious, like, having a shower before bed and washing my face in the morning and just getting myself ready for the day makes me feel so healthy and so put together. So that's something I really prioritize. And then I have an app called Aura. So I have the Aura ring, which is kind of like a sleep tracker, fitness tracker, and it gives me like a 5-minute meditation. And honestly, I never believed in meditation, but I'm starting to learn the connection between gut health and mindfulness. So I try to meditate every now and then before bed, and I don't know that it actually helps me sleep, but I think over time, like, it might. And I don't know, it's one of those ancestral practices. Like, I'm sure it's working, it's doing something. So I do really try to do that meditation. But yeah, for me, I think my number one health tip is movement is medicine. Getting outside is medicine. And something I've recently learned is if you want to have a good conversation with someone, go on a walk and do it. And I've always loved walking with my friends, but I've learned that I guess it's called something called bilateral stimulation, where you're using both sides of your brain because you're constantly looking back and forth and scanning your environment while you're walking. And that stimulates your brain to have a better, more in-depth, connected conversation and have a more open mind. So yeah, I guess my number one wellness tip is just getting outside with other people if I can, but just making it a priority to go on a silly little walk every day.
That's great. I love that it's a very like a doable piece of advice, right? Like that everyone can, find 5 minutes to go for that walk. And it makes sense. You were talking earlier about talking to your boyfriend and having it be through that walk. So I love to hear that, the more open mind from that.
My friend's a therapist and she just taught me that piece of advice. But yeah, I just feel like I love the gym. I like having, I don't know, I just like the gym, but I wouldn't want everyone to go to the gym. I think there's so many other things that you can do that, like going for a walk brings so much more benefit than forcing yourself to do something you hate. And you can build it into your daily life. Like I started to realize, wow, I'm not the only one who likes walking. My friends love walking and my boyfriend loves walking. If you throw a dog in the mix, it's even better, but I don't have one.
Not yet, anyways. That's how I always feel. Yeah, no, that is definitely one of the things I've learned the most too is, yeah, trying to find that activity that you enjoy, because if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to stick with it. So just like however that shows up.
So true.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you joining me on this episode of Friends of FEADies. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. It was such a pleasure to get to chat with you a little bit.
Thank you to our listeners for indulging your entrepreneurial appetite with this episode of Friends of FEADies, brought to you by Feed Canada, our funding partner ISET, and founding partner, the Saskatchewan Food Centre. If anything we have discussed today has ignited an entrepreneurial fire within you, but you're not quite sure how to get started, or you're craving mentorship and coaching to help grow your business, please reach out to us at feed.ca. That's FEAD.ca. Connect with us on social media. We're sprinkled all over the digital landscape, and our team is ready to provide the mentorship and coaching you need to flourish. At Feed, we're here to empower women in the agri-food industry, so don't hesitate to reach out to us to join our vibrant community of foodpreneurs. Until next time, bake those dreams into reality, stay hungry for success, and continue to nourish your entrepreneurial spirit with Feed. Bon appetit.